and welcome to the 63rd edition of Marex Maritime News.
The soaring cases of COVID-19 in India have led to many countries around the world banning travellers from India entering their nations. This has had a serious effect on seafarer transfers from and to ships, raising the need for all Indian seafarers to be vaccinated on an urgent basis.
The last 1 week has seen a disaster for the Indian shipping industry, with a lot of countries refusing entry of people originating from India due to the spread of the coronavirus in India. This is directly impacting our seafarers and their relief seafarers who are stuck on board ships. Going ahead, FOSMA, along with the industry partners MASA, has appealed to the Director General of Shipping that the only way forward is to make sure that our seafarers get the required inoculations in time, so that we can tell the global industry, the countries, that our seafarers have a green vaccination passport. DG Shipping has been very forthcoming, and on Friday a circular was issued to vaccinate seafarers at the Mumbai Port Trust facilities here in Mumbai. We appreciate the efforts that are being taken by the Director General of Shipping, and will continue to get the industry recognized here in India and get our seafarers vaccinated. The only way ahead to make sure that our seafarers who are stuck on board ships come back in a timely manner.
India, the third largest country which provides seafarers to our industry. Close to 10% or 250,000 Indian seafarers are working in our industry. The recent port circular from Port of Singapore banning the signing on of Indian seafarers in Port of Singapore is a cause of concern for all shipping companies. Singapore is one of the pioneers in opening up their ports for the crew change in the last 1 year, ever since we are into this pandemic situation. In our company, close to 3/4 of crew change has happened in Singapore. Now, banning the signing on of Indian seafarers is a real concern for us. And we need to understand that as an industry, we are urging the ports to open up for the crew changes. But if the ports themselves fear the carriage of virus from the other countries, is going to be very difficult. The recent spike of cases in India is also a cause of concern. Probably this decision has been driven from there. But we urge the government of India to fast forward the vaccination program for the seafarers. We understand that it is going to be open for a common person of the age of 18 in the next week. But we also want the seafarers can be prioritized in that list too. More and more seafarers getting vaccinated will help them to move freely through the different countries. At the same time, we also request Government of India to open a dialogue with the Government of Singapore and to seek the permission that if the seafarers are vaccinated by the vaccines which has been approved by the Government of India, they should be allowed to sign on from the Port of Singapore. And that will help the shipping companies to keep the seafarers moving at a different part of the world, and at the same time, those who are stuck on board can get back to their home as early as possible and as safe as possible. We request all the seafarers also to come forward, get themselves vaccinated. Don't listen to the news which is going around on the social media. Refer to your doctor. Take your decision. Get yourself vaccinated so that you can be prioritized when there is a job opening coming up and you can sign on the vessels at a different part of the world. It will help you financially, your families. We need all the seafarers to get back to the ships and start running their finances. We also want the seafarers who are stuck on board to go back home. All this thing can happen if we get the vaccination program going as fast as possible. So once again, a request to all the seafarers, get themselves vaccinated. And stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless you all.
The Indian government has directed all ports to remove all barriers to ships bringing in any oxygen or oxygen manufacturing material or machinery into the country. Also, the government has announced waivers of all fees on such goods, including customs and port charges. This follows an acute shortage of medical oxygen throughout the country and the resultant hardship to patients suffering from the COVID-19 outbreak.
Today, the entire country is fighting against COVID-19, and as a nation, we will win this battle. Ports operations come under essential services. At all the major ports in India, under the leadership of Honorable Minister and with the guidance of IPA Chairman and IPA MD, we are committed and are here to support all the port operations. We will ensure that all the necessary arrangements are in place for smooth movement of goods.
These are the headlines on Monday, 26th April 2021. NUSI and ITF promise solidarity support to ever-given seafarers. Container rates surge to record high. Are batteries a greener, more efficient power source? Industry attempts to contain VOC emissions from tanker cargoes. Best Q1 ship orders since 2008. Indian crude oil output slides 5.22%. The National Union of Seafarers of India, NUSI, promised solidarity support from day one to all the seafarers on board the Ever Given. Now, the International Transport Workers Federation, ITF, has also extended solidarity support to all the seafarers on board. Recently, two Egyptian ITF contacts from two ITF-affiliated Egyptian unions went on board the Ever Given, met the crew and delivered the message of solidarity. The captain and the crew of this ship now being held up in the Great Bitter Lakes, while an Egyptian court arrest order stated that there was no problem regarding wages, food or provisions. Two seafarers, that is the second engineer and electrician, are now being signed off, and their reliever will join soon, which is a positive support from the Egyptian authorities.
The ship Ever Given is still at the anchorage point at the Bitter Lake in the Suez Canal. The ship has been refloated. It had blocked the Suez Canal and drew worldwide attention. Now, after being refloated, it has been at the anchorage point for more than 2 weeks. The inquiry is going on. The formal inquiry has not been submitted. In the meantime, the ship was seized on the orders of the court, Egyptian court. At the local level, the National Union of Seafarers of India, NUSI, MUI, the shipping company, Bernard Schulte, the association, the Maritime Administration, and the Government of India is seized of this issue. And additionally, the International Transport Workers Federation, the ITF, is also watching very closely the developments of Ever Given. All we need is an impartial inquiry, and at no point of time the seafarer should be held at ransom because of the negotiations which are going on between the Suez Canal authorities and the charterer and the insurer, the ship owner. We are least interested in that. All and our only interest is the well-being and the mental health of the seafarer, the 25 seafarers who are on board the Ever Given. NUSI has expressed its solidarity support, and the International Transport Workers Federation, the ITF, has also expressed solidarity support from the family of the ITF. And very importantly, the Egyptian ITF contacts did visit the Ever Given at the anchorage. That was a morale booster for the seafarers on board Ever Given. That they have the support also from the Egyptian trade unions. The Indian High Commission is aware, he sees of the matter, and in the meeting of the highest level of the executive board of the ITF on the 23rd of April, the ITF has passed a statement in support of the Ever Given 25. All we are asking that the seafarers should be allowed to come back home as and when they finish their contracts, and they should not be held at ransom. Let the negotiation, the legal formalities, whatever is going to take, let it continue. But the well-being and the mental health and the physical health of the seafarers and the apprehensions and the frustration of the family members should be taken into account, and the seafarers should come back home soon. We are sanguine that this will be the case, and we are quite hopeful that the seafarers will come back soon. Of ever given 25, long live international solidarity, long live seafarers unity.
The container freight rates have reached historical heights. The impact of the container shortage is greater on the longer and thinner trade routes to the developing regions than on the main east-west route. The current surge is expected to last into 2021.
There is no doubt that container freight levels are going through the roof, and understandably, even the charter hires for container ships are just rising each day. Container ship owners have not seen such rates since 2008 or 2009. This scenario is compounded further due to a shortage of containers in all major trade lanes. As on January 1st, 2021, the container ship fleet capacity was about 23.9 million TEUs, and the number of container equipment available globally was around 39.9 million TEUs. This figure of 39.9 million TEUs has remained stagnant for the past year, and understandably so due to the prevailing pandemic. But the impact of container shortage is generally spread over most of the routes. This is due to the following reasons. Firstly, it is taking a long time to reposition the empty containers to the locations where they are needed. Earlier, it could be done because the destocked boxes were coming back in time. Now that is not happening because the discharge ports are taking a longer time to inspect and clear the cargoes. Secondly, new containers have not been added to the prevailing inventory because of high rates for new containers. Till early 2020, one could buy a new 20 feet container for USD 1600, and today the same one is available for $2,500. This is a big rise. Today, a second-hand container is available for USD 1800 if you want to buy it. And thirdly, it is imperative to take action on long-standing containers. Delays in clearing containers have a heavy impact in availability of containers for next stuffing. It is absolutely essential that laden containers are cleared within a maximum of 30 days. Why is this not being followed? So, in order to reduce the impact of shortage of containers, it is important to turn around the containers fast, increase the manufacturing of containers, reduce the dwell time of containers on land, and facilitate clearing of exempt cargoes.
Ship owners are now looking towards batteries as a greener, more efficient power source. Recently, Japanese shipping company Asahi Tanker unveiled its new, first of its kind, fully electric vessel. Designed by E5 Lab and powered by only lithium-ion batteries supplied by Corvus Energy, the tanker is set to be launched at Tokyo Bay next year.
International initiatives towards reducing CO2 and other GHG emissions are driving the research into exploring alternatives to conventional petroleum-based ship fuels. Decision of IMO to limit the sulfur content of ship fuel from 1st January 2020 to 0.5% is already a game changer. Other potential alternatives being tried and in use are LNG, LPG, methanol, ethanol, hydrogen and biofuels, etc. Recent developments in using electric power on board and energy storage devices has been very promising. Norway has been using battery-powered ferries for last few years, where each trip is lasting for few hours and traversing just few nautical miles. Asahi Tankers have recently gone for first battery-operated bunker tankers in Japan. Batteries most commonly known are lead acid, nickel cadmium and alkaline batteries. But the new battery technologies have introduced advanced lithium ion, lithium sulfur and lithium air batteries. Of these, lithium ion has the best specific energy and energy density in watt-hour per kilogram. But compared to marine diesel, they are extremely poor. MDO has energy density of approximately over 42,000 kilojoules per kilogram as against best lithium ion battery of just over 1,200 kilojoules per kilogram. So currently batteries are very uncompetitive and no match but for the need due to emission. Batteries would certainly impact ship speed and range, meaning longer transit time and the economics. So the greatest challenge is the relatively low energy density of the batteries. However, it must be admitted that batteries are greener with zero emission of CO2, NOx, SOx and smoke. They reduce noise and vibrations also. They would be ideal for low speed and reduced range. With advancement in technology, battery technology is bound to develop rapidly, and we sure shipping will soon see better type of batteries which are more economical and have more energy storage.
A lot of excitement has been generated over the news that the first vessel is being built in Japan, which is being powered by lithium ion batteries. Are lithium ion batteries greener? On the face of it, yes. But three questions that we need to address. The recycling process itself needs to be examined. It calls for being more benign than what is currently being used, which is high temperature, oxidative, acid leaching methods. The second is the efficiency itself of the battery cycle of storage and discharge. So currently it is somewhere between 40 and 70%. We hope that this number would significantly increase. And finally, what is the source of the energy that we are going to store in these batteries? If it is fossil fuel, then the carbon footprint would hardly change much. And how do we ensure that the energy that is stored in these batteries is only from renewable sources? Some questions for us to address, but overall, a move in the right direction.
Hindustan Institute of Maritime Training.
Around 17 million barrels of hydrocarbons are lost yearly due to the evaporation of volatile organic compound VOCs during loading, storage and transportation of crude oil on ships. This loss amount represents a value of 3.0 to 3.5 billion USDs annually. If you are a shipping operator, curbing the seaborne VOC emission is a chance to make your business more profitable. For a standard ship such as an Aframax tanker, the economic loss during a single voyage with full tank amounts to more than 40,000 USD. The industry is now trying out various technical solutions to contain this loss.
VOC emission from tankers operation could potentially be a large source of local hazardous waste in and around petroleum terminal and while in transit in the open seas. Ship-derived emission of VOC comes from loading, unloading, ballasting and transportation, while VOC emitted during transportation may form a significant proportion of local VOC emission from ships. This is, of course, an operational matter. Over the last decade, scientific studies have demonstrated the efficiency of the saturated vapor pressure concept, which is called SVP contract, simply by maintaining a high pressure inside cargo tanks. The VOC are contained within the liquid hydrocarbon phase and are unable to evaporate. This was achieved by keeping tanks under positive pressure within gas and so. For many years did VOC emission receive very little focus on it, especially methane is a potent greenhouse gas contributing to climate change. Several other VOC including ethane, propane, butane, petane and other gases reacts with noxious to form ground level which has harmful effect on human health and plants. Study conducted by Bhatia and Downwoodies which demonstrated how the continuous leakage of VOC would amount to significant loss, and due to this consequences several other organizations and countries began to look into the problem. The study showed that as much as 9 million tons of VOC was emitted annually from a global crude oil loading and transportation, with about 5 million tons emitted during the actual transport. The figure corresponds to about 70 million barrels of light and hydrocarbon, representing a value between 3.0 and 3.5 billion USD annually. Over the following years, several tankers were equipped with new technology, due to which the crude oil VOC generation fell by 90% to around 70%. I feel companies must work with the new technology for VOC emission reduction, as not only will it benefit the environment and human, but will also reduce the economic losses to the maritime industry.
There's further evidence to the boom times most of the shipping markets have entered this year, with reports that more new builds were contracted in the first 3 months of the year than in any Q1 since 2008, the final year of shipping's last great bull run. This ship ordering, led by the container sector, follows on from plenty of other indicators showing how strongly most of the shipping segments have been in the first 16 weeks of this year.
Good morning. We know that the order book in gross tonnage terms was just about 8 to 8.5% in the beginning of 2021. If we compare this with 2008, when the order book was 50% plus, this number in 2021 is pretty low. While the shipyards may be very happy with the number of orders that have been placed from January till now, especially when the solutions for compliance with the new regulations are still elusive, we must not forget the consequences of too many ships. We know that the freight rate generally goes up with the incremental change in demand when such an increase does happen in the inelastic zone of the supply curve. Adding to that, ordering of ships with propulsive systems that may not be future compliant only shows that we are looking at short-term gains and hoping that these gains will last longer. Let us not forget ordering in 2007 and 8, when the daily break-even, say for example, of a Cape-size ship was in the region of very high 20,000s to low 30,000s, like $30,000 per day. And that too, we are looking at 4% depreciation. That is assuming the life of the Cape as 25 years. Does it ever happen? We have seen the cycles, it does not happen. So it's very clear that everyone is looking at the short-term gains and hoping that the market will remain this way for years to come. Lack of discipline has always been a problem with our industry. I remember in one of the classes that I was delivering on derivatives, one of the participants said, that's a problem with our industry. The investors and those who fund them, they get sucked into something called GPI. And this GPI is greed, panic, and ignorance. Let us prove wrong. Even though in the worst case scenario that we are seeing, the ordering this year could still be less than average of 20 years.
Indian crude oil production during March 2021 was 2612.96 TMT, which is 5.63% lower than the target and 3.13% lower when compared with March 2020. The cumulative crude oil production during April to March 2020 to 2021 was 30,491.77 TMT, which is 5.65% and 5.22% lower than the target for the period and production during the corresponding period of last year, respectively. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you for watching. See you all next Monday.